Now we will look into how we can handle our errors in GraphQL. As we know, the handling error in any application is very important. I am on the Apollo Server website and on error handling article that will suggest me some of the methods that I can use to handle my errors. As GraphQL always return 200 as status code, whether it is throwing some error or whether it is returning some result. So this is the shape of the GraphQL error. When I throw error from any GraphQL query by writing throw GraphQL error, like this. When I throw error from any part of my code, it will throw error like this with the error message and extension with the code that defines the type of error. But the thing to notice here is that the status code is always 200. So the client end has no method to know whether it is returning a result or whether it is throwing some error. The Apollo server documents suggest some of the method to handle the errors. These are the built-in error codes, GraphQL parse failed, validation failed, that we can use if we want. And this is the custom handling the custom errors that I am using. We can handle the GraphQL errors customly by suggesting our own method. For example, if the user passes an invalid argument, we can throw the bad user input error. Similarly for all of other errors as well. So let's jump into the VS Code part. Redo the changes that I have just done. This is the helper function, helper file that I have created that contains an object with error types where I have defined the type of error that takes an object as its value. The object contains an error code and error status. Error status is the status that I am returning to the client, and error code is also the code that helps the user to verify whether it is error or result. I have written some of the error types for bad user input, bad request, not found, unauthenticated, already exist, and internet server error. This is my helper function that I am calling from different parts of my resolvers, where I am passing the error message and the error type, and I am throwing the error from this place only. Let's look into my resolver where I am throwing the error. In my signup resolver, if the user passed an email that already exists in my database, I am calling the throw custom error and pass it an error message and already exists error type. So this will call this function and throw some meaningful error to the user. Let's check in the Apollo server. Move to the create user. Let's create a new user. Then as you can see, it is throwing me 400 status code and email already is already registered error. So the client will know that it is 400, so it is some error, and he or she, the client, can also verify from the extension .code that it is already exist error. Similarly, we can define different error types for our use. Like in login, if the user passed the invalid email or password, I am throwing bad user input error and passing a message that invalid email or password entered. Similarly, in my recipe resolver, I can use this custom error function. Like if the recipe does not exist, I am throwing not found error, and the recipe with ID does not exist. Let me show you this. Get a single recipe. So if I pass the correct ID, then it will return me the recipe. But if I change this recipe ID and then send the request, as you can see, it is sending a 404 status code that shows that it is some kind of error. So the client will know that this is an error and I have to switch to some other screen. So this is how we can handle errors in GraphQL. Thank you very much.